Quan rubbed his tired eyes as his cargo ship docked at Gateway Station Epsilon 7. The station was massive, floating in the darkness of space like a small metal moon. Lights blinked across its surface, and hundreds of ships moved in and out like busy insects around a hive. He had been flying for 16 hours straight, bringing supplies from Earth's mining colonies to the trading hub. All he wanted now was to pass through security, grab some decent food, and sleep for 10 hours. The docking process went smoothly. His ship settled into Bay 47 with a soft thud. Quan grabbed his identification card and headed toward the exit ramp. He had done this route at least 30 times before. It was boring work, but it paid well enough. Earth needed pilots who could handle long trips alone, and Quan had always been good at being alone. The Gateway Station was busy as always. Quan walked through the wide corridors and watched the incredible variety of alien species moving around him. There were tall, insect-like creatures called vril, their shell bodies clicking as they walked. A group of crystalline beings called Hesh floated past, their bodies catching the light and throwing rainbows across the walls. Gaseous Noor drifted through the halls in their protective suits, looking like walking clouds. After 5 decades of contact with the Galactic Coalition, humans were still amazed by the sheer diversity of life in the universe. Quan joined the line for Security Checkpoint 3. It moved quickly. The bioscanners were efficient, processing each traveler in seconds. He watched as a vril merchant stepped up to the scanner. A blue light washed over the creature from head to feet. The display screen flashed green with text. Vril Merchant Class cleared. The vril clicked happily and moved through. Next came a Hesh diplomat. The same blue light, the same quick process. Hesh diplomatic immunity cleared. Then a Noor trader. Noor trade certified cleared. The line kept moving. Quan had been through these scanners dozens of times. It was the most boring part of any trip. Finally, it was his turn. Quan stepped up to the scanner platform and stood still. The blue light activated, sweeping across his body. He waited for the familiar beep and green light. But something was different. The scanner made a sound he had never heard before, a sharp electronic shriek that cut through the noise of the busy checkpoint. The blue light turned red. Red lights began flashing all around the scanner. The display screen showed words that made no sense. Unclassified survivor, biological anomaly detected, clearance denied. Quan stared at the screen. "What does that mean?" he asked. The security officer, a vril named Tix, looked just as confused. Tix had been working this checkpoint for 20 years and had never seen this message. "I do not know," Tix said, his voice clicking through the translator device. "Please step aside." "Do not leave the area." Within minutes, more security officers arrived. They were not rough or mean, but they were very serious. They asked Quan to follow them to a holding area. It was a comfortable room with chairs and a window showing the stars outside, but the door was locked. Quan sat down and tried to understand what was happening. Had the scanner broken? Was there something wrong with his identification? He had all his papers. He had not done anything illegal. An hour passed. Then 2 hours. Quan could see security officers talking outside the window of his room. They kept looking at him like he was some kind of puzzle they could not solve. Some of them looked worried. That made Quan nervous. What could possibly be wrong? News traveled fast on Gateway Station. By the 3rd hour, word had spread through the station that something unusual had happened at Checkpoint 3. A human had been flagged with a designation nobody had ever seen before. Unclassified survivor. People whispered about it. Some aliens who had been curious about humans became even more interested. Others became cautious. Humans were still relatively new to the Coalition. They had only made first contact 50 years ago. They were strange creatures from a strange world, and most aliens did not know much about them. Finally, someone came to talk to Quan. It was Tix, the security officer from the checkpoint. Tix's insect eyes looked at Quan through the window before the door opened. "I apologize for the delay," Tix said. "We are trying to understand what happened. This has never occurred before in the 800 years of Coalition security screening." 800 years? Quan said. "So I am the first?" "You are the first anything to be classified as unclassified survivor," Tix explained. "The scanner identifies species based on biological markers, evolutionary patterns, and threat assessment. Every known species has a classification. But you, the system does not know what to do with you." "But I am human," Quan said. Humans have been passing through these scanners for years. Yes, Tix agreed. This is what makes it strange. We checked the records. Thousands of humans have been scanned. None triggered this response. The scanner system was updated 3 weeks ago with new detection capabilities, more sensitive analysis. It seems this update found something in your biology that the old scanners missed. Quan felt cold. Is there something wrong with me? We do not know, Tix said honestly. Scientists are coming to examine you. They will not hurt you. They just want to understand. Until then, you must stay here. I am sorry. Station regulations. After Tix left, Quan sat alone and looked out at the stars. He thought about Earth, about his small apartment in New Seoul, about his quiet life. He was just a cargo pilot. He flew ships and delivered boxes. There was nothing special about him. But somewhere in his biology, in the cells and genes that made him human, there was something the galaxy had never seen before, something that made ancient alien computers stop and flag him as unknown. Outside his room, the station continued its busy rhythm. Ships came and went. Aliens conducted their business. But in the security offices, messages were being sent to the Coalition Science Council. Researchers were gathering data. Questions were being asked. What makes humans different? What did the scanner detect? And most importantly, what does unclassified survivor actually mean? Quan did not know it yet, but his detention was about to change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. The scientists arrived on Gateway Station within 12 hours. Quan watched through his window as they set up equipment in the medical bay next to his holding room. There were 2 of them leading the investigation. One was human, which made Quan feel a little better. Her name was Dr. Hana, a xenobiologist who worked for the Coalition. She was young, maybe in her late 20s, with sharp eyes that seemed to notice everything. The other was a Hesh named Vel, a crystal creature that glowed with a soft blue light. Vel was famous throughout the Coalition for his work in evolutionary biology. Dr. Hana came to meet Quan first. She smiled at him, trying to put him at ease. I know this must be scary, she said, but I promise we are just trying to understand what happened. You are not in trouble. You have not done anything wrong. Then why am I locked in here? Quan asked. Standard procedure when the scanners flag an unknown biological signature, Hana explained. It is for everyone's safety, including yours. But honestly, I do not think there is any danger. I think the scanner found something interesting about human biology that we never noticed before. Over the next 2 days, they ran many tests on Quan. Blood samples, tissue scans, genetic mapping, brain activity monitors. Nothing hurt, but it was tiring. Vel and Hana worked around the clock, comparing Quan's results with the biological database of every known species in the Coalition. They also pulled records of every human who had ever been scanned at any Coalition facility. On the 3rd day, Vel made a discovery. Quan was eating breakfast when both scientists rushed into his room, their faces showing excitement. We found something, Hana said, her voice shaking slightly. Something remarkable. Vel's crystalline body pulsed with light as he spoke through his translator. Your genetic code contains markers we have never seen concentrated in any other intelligent species. Markers of survival from multiple extinction-level events. Quan put down his food. What does that mean? Hana pulled up a holographic display. It showed a timeline of Earth's history. Red marks appeared along the timeline, dozens of them. These are catastrophic events that nearly wiped out life on Earth, she explained. Supervolcanic eruptions that blocked out the sun for years. Ice ages that covered most of the planet in ice. Asteroid impacts. Plague pandemics that killed huge portions of the population. Solar radiation spikes. Each one of these events should have ended complex life on your world. But humans survived, Quan said. Not just survived, Vel corrected. Adapted. Your DNA is like a history book of planetary disasters. Each catastrophe left marks on the human genome. Your immune system has adaptations from surviving dozens of different plagues. Your skin has protection against radiation levels that would kill most species. Your digestive system can process an incredibly wide range of foods because your ancestors had to eat whatever they could find during famines. Your brain has enhanced pattern recognition for detecting dangers because humans who could predict disasters lived longer. Hana's voice was filled with wonder. Quan, we ran the same analysis on samples from other humans. Every single human has these markers. This is not unique to you. This is what humans are. You are a species forged by constant apocalypse. Quan tried to process this information. But other species must have faced disasters too. Some did, Vel agreed, but nothing like Earth. Most intelligent species evolved on stable worlds, calm climates, predictable conditions. Some faced one major extinction event in their history. But humans? Your species survived dozens. The genetic markers are clear. Modern humans carry DNA from at least 4 different human subspecies that interbred over time. Those subspecies competed, fought, and merged. Then you survived the Toba supervolcano eruption 70,000 years ago that reduced human population to perhaps 10,000 individuals. You nearly went extinct, but you did not. And it kept happening, Hana added, century after century. The Black Death in medieval times, world wars, near-nuclear destruction during the Cold War. Each generation of humans faced something that could have ended everything, and each generation survived. Vel brought up another display showing the biological classifications of different coalition species. This is why the scanner could not classify you. It was designed to categorize species by their evolutionary niche: predator, prey, symbiote, parasite, scavenger. But humans do not fit any standard niche. Your evolutionary niche is surviving extinction events. The scanner created a new category because it had to. Unclassified survivor. Quan sat in silence. He thought about his parents, his grandparents, all his ancestors going back thousands of generations. They had lived through horrors he could not imagine. They had watched their worlds burn and freeze and shake apart, and they had refused to die. Is this why humans seem different to other species? Quan asked. Other aliens sometimes say we are reckless, that we take risks they would never take. Hana nodded slowly. Maybe. If your species evolved to survive unsurvivable situations, then your definition of acceptable risk is probably very different from species that evolved in safety. What seems insane to them might seem reasonable to you. Over the next week, Vel and Hana published their findings. The scientific community across the coalition was shocked. Research teams on 100 different worlds started analyzing human biology with new understanding. News networks broadcast the discovery. Humans were not just another species. They were something unique in known galactic history. But not everyone was happy about the discovery. Some alien species became nervous. If humans were evolved to survive apocalypses, what did that say about their nature? Were they dangerous, unstable? Some politicians and military leaders asked uncomfortable questions. A few suggested that humans should be monitored more closely. The debate reached the highest levels of coalition government. The High Council called for an emergency session. They wanted answers. They wanted to understand what it meant to have a species of survivors in their peaceful coalition, and they wanted to hear from humanity's representative. Ambassador Day received the summons while he was on Earth. He had been expecting it. The moment the news broke about human biology, he knew the council would call. He packed his things and prepared for the most important speech of his career. He would have to convince the galaxy that humans were not a threat, that their survival instinct was a strength, not a weakness, that their scars made them valuable, not dangerous. As his ship launched toward the council chambers on the capital world, Day thought about Quan, the cargo pilot who had accidentally revealed humanity's deepest secret. One man passing through a scanner had changed everything. Now it was up to Day to make sure that change did not destroy humanity's place among the stars. Quan guided his ship through the asteroid field with steady hands. Space rocks tumbled past him on all sides, some as large as buildings. His scanner screamed warnings constantly, but he ignored them. Years of flying cargo runs had taught him how to navigate tight spaces. This was just tighter than usual. His target was a massive asteroid near the front of the swarm. According to Dr. Hana's calculations, this rock was the key. If he could place his nuclear charge at the right spot and detonate it at the right moment, the explosion would fragment this asteroid and send the pieces into other asteroids nearby. The chain reaction would begin here. Position 1, this is position 7. Minho's voice came through the communication channel. I am in place. Charges armed and ready. Position 3 ready, Yuna reported. Her voice was calm, but Quan could hear the tension under it. One by one, the pilots reported in. Everyone was reaching their positions. The nuclear charges were being attached to the asteroids, each one carefully placed according to Hana's precise instructions. On Earth, Hana sat in a control room surrounded by computers, watching data streams from all 12 ships. She was running last-minute calculations, adjusting for small changes in the asteroid's movements. Quan reached his asteroid and brought his ship alongside it. The rock's surface was rough and irregular, scarred by millions of years drifting through space. He activated his ship's magnetic clamps and attached to the surface. Then he put on his spacesuit and went outside to place the charge manually. It was risky, but the charge had to be positioned exactly right. Floating on the surface of the tumbling asteroid, Quan worked quickly. He drilled into the rock, placed the nuclear device, and set the timer. Around him, stars spun as the asteroid rotated. He could see Nor Prime in the distance, a beautiful blue-green world that would soon be destroyed if this plan failed. Charge placed, Quan reported, climbing back into his ship. Timer is set. 30 minutes. Good, Hana's voice came through. Quan, you need to clear the blast radius before detonation. That means moving at least 10 kilometers away in the next 28 minutes. Understood, Quan said. He released the magnetic clamps and fired his thrusters. The ship pulled away from the asteroid and began to accelerate, but something went wrong. Another asteroid, one that had not been in the original calculations, came tumbling through the field. It was not huge, maybe the size of a car, but it was moving fast. It clipped Quan's ship before he could dodge. The impact sent his vessel spinning. Alarms blared. Quan fought with the controls, trying to stabilize. His main thruster was damaged. He could maneuver, but not quickly. He would not be able to get clear of the blast in time. Quan, what is your status? Hana asked urgently. Ship is damaged, Quan reported. I cannot reach safe distance before detonation. Then abort, Hana said immediately. Disable the charge and we will recalculate. Find another approach. Quan looked at the timer. 26 minutes. He thought about the 3 billion Noor waiting below. He thought about the other 11 ships all positioned and ready. If he aborted his charge, the entire cascade would fail. Hana's calculations depended on every explosion happening in perfect sequence. Without the first detonation at position 1, the rest would accomplish nothing. Negative, Quan said. The charge stays active. I will get as far as I can. Quan, no, Hana started, but he cut the channel. He fired his maneuvering thrusters and nursed his damaged ship away from the asteroid. He would not make it to safety, but he could get far enough that the blast would not kill him instantly. Maybe far enough to survive. Maybe not. It did not matter. 3 billion lives were worth more than one. Junho's voice came through the channel. Quan, I am at position 12. I can adjust my course and help you. Stay in position, Junho, Quan ordered. We do this by the numbers. Everyone stays where Hana put them. The minutes counted down. Quan pushed his ship as hard as he could. 5 kilometers clear, 6-7. The timer hit 15 minutes. He was not going to make it to 10 kilometers. He accepted that. On Earth, Dr. Hana watched the data with tears in her eyes. She saw Quan's ship struggling to escape. She saw the other pilots maintaining their positions even though they wanted to help. She saw the nuclear charges ticking down toward detonation. And she saw 3 billion Noor on the planet below, unaware that a human cargo pilot was about to die trying to save them. Ambassador Day stood beside Hana in the control room. He had been watching the entire operation. Can we abort? He asked quietly. If we abort, everyone on Noor Prime dies, Hana said. Quan knows that. This is his choice. 10 minutes. Quan was 8 kilometers from his asteroid. He turned his ship around so he could watch the detonation. If he was going to die, he wanted to see if it worked. 5 minutes. He thought about his apartment on Earth, his few friends, his quiet life. He had never expected to be a hero. He had just wanted to help 1 minute. Quan took a deep breath and smiled. At least he would not die wondering what could have been done. He had done something. That was enough. The nuclear charge detonated. A white flash filled space brighter than the sun. The asteroid shattered into thousands of pieces. Those pieces hit other asteroids, fragmenting them. The fragments spread outward in a precisely calculated pattern, hitting more rocks, creating more explosions. Not nuclear explosions now, just kinetic impacts, but powerful enough. The cascade had begun. The blast wave hit Quan's ship and tossed it like a toy. Metal screamed. Systems failed. Quan was thrown against his restraints hard enough to crack ribs. His vision went dark. Across the asteroid field, 11 more nuclear charges detonated in perfect sequence. Each explosion added to the cascade. The swarm broke apart. Trillions of tons of rock that would have destroyed a planet were now spreading out, fragmenting, moving away from Noor Prime. Some pieces would still hit the planet, but they would be small enough for the atmosphere to burn up. The calculations had been perfect. On Noor Prime, 3 billion people watched the sky as the asteroid swarm broke apart and dissolved into shooting stars. They did not die. Their planet was safe. In the control room on Earth, Hana watched the data confirm success. Every asteroid had been redirected or destroyed. Noor Prime would survive, but Kwan's ship was not responding to communication. His life sign readings were gone. She covered her face with her hands and cried. Junho's ship raced toward Kwan's last position. It took him 40 minutes to find the damaged vessel, tumbling slowly through space. The ship's hull was cracked and buckled. No lights, no power. Junho extended his ship's sensors and scanned for life signs. At first there was nothing. Then faintly a heartbeat. Kwan was alive. Junho moved fast. He attached a tether to Kwan's ship and towed it to his own vessel. He went over in his spacesuit and cut through the damaged hull with a torch. Inside he found Kwan unconscious but breathing. 3 broken ribs, a concussion, and various cuts and bruises. But alive, I have him, Junho reported. Kwan is alive. Injured but stable. We are heading to the nearest medical station. On Earth, Hana heard those words and sobbed with relief. In the Coalition Council chambers, representatives watched the rescue with amazement. Across the galaxy, billions of beings had witnessed what humans could do when disaster struck. They had seen 12 pilots fly into an impossible situation without hesitation. They had seen one pilot accept almost certain death to save strangers. They had seen humanity's true nature revealed. The Noor government sent a message to Earth within the hour. It was simple but powerful. We owe you a debt that can never be repaid. Humanity saved our world. We will never forget. Other species sent their own messages. Even the ones who had been nervous about humans admitted that what they had seen changed everything. These were not reckless barbarians. These were survivors who had turned their survival instinct into something beautiful. They did not survive just for themselves. They survived so they could help others survive too. When Kwan woke up in the medical bay 3 days later, Minho and Yuna were sitting beside his bed. His body hurt everywhere, but he was alive. Did it work? Kwan asked, his voice rough. It worked, Minho said, grinning. Noor Prime is safe. You are a hero. We all are, Kwan corrected. It was a team effort. Maybe, Yuna said. But you were the one willing to die for it. That means something. Kwan shook his head slowly. I was just being human. When someone needs help, you help them, even if it costs you everything. That is what survivors do. The High Council chamber was built to impress. It stood at the center of the capital world, a massive building made of materials from 1,000 different planets. The ceiling was so high it seemed to touch the clouds. Representatives from every major species in the coalition sat in curved rows that rose up like an amphitheater. At the bottom, a single platform waited for speakers. Ambassador Day stood on that platform and looked up at hundreds of alien faces. Some were familiar. Others belonged to species he had only seen in pictures. All of them were watching him with intense interest. The chamber was completely silent. The council leader, an ancient Hesh named Mora, whose crystal body had seen 3 centuries of service, spoke first. Her voice echoed through the hall. Ambassador Day of Earth, we have called this emergency session to discuss the recent discoveries about human biology. The findings are troubling to many council members. Please help us understand what kind of species we have welcomed into our coalition. Day took a deep breath. He had prepared for this moment, but standing here made everything feel real. Thank you, Council Leader Mora. I will try to answer your concerns honestly. A Vril representative named Chin stood up in the upper rows. Chin was known for being cautious, sometimes fearful. Ambassador Day, our scientists have reviewed the data. Your species survived more than 30 extinction-level events in the past 100,000 years. 30. Most species face perhaps one such event in their entire evolutionary history. What kind of world creates a species like yours? A cruel one, Day answered simply. Earth is not a kind planet. It has active volcanoes, shifting continents, extreme weather. Asteroids have hit it multiple times. The sun has sent radiation storms. Diseases evolve quickly in Earth's warm, wet environment. My ancestors did not choose these challenges. They simply had to survive them or die. Another representative stood, this one a Noor named Pesh. The gaseous being's voice came through its suit speakers. But that is exactly what concerns us. If humans evolved to survive constant catastrophe, what happens when there is no catastrophe? Do you create one? Your own history shows massive wars, nuclear weapons, environmental destruction. Are humans dangerous to themselves and others? Day had expected this question. Yes, humans have fought wars. We have made terrible mistakes. But consider the context. For most of our history, resources were scarce. Different human groups competed for survival. Violence was sometimes the only option our ancestors had. But we also learned cooperation. We learned that working together increased everyone's chance of survival. Modern humans choose peace more often than war because we have finally escaped the constant crisis of our past. Have you? Asked another voice. This came from a Hesh diplomat named Rix. Or have you simply brought your crisis with you into space? Human colonies expand aggressively. Your military maintains large fleets. You seem always ready for war. We are ready for disaster, Day corrected. There is a difference. Yes, human military ships are numerous, but we have never used them against coalition members. We built them because our evolutionary history taught us that being unprepared means extinction. We hope for peace but prepare for crisis. This is not aggression. This is survival instinct. Mora raised a crystal hand for silence. Ambassador Day, I will ask you directly. The scanner classified humans as unclassified survivors. Your evolutionary niche is enduring apocalypse, but we have built a coalition based on peace and stability. Are humans compatible with this vision? Or will your nature eventually disrupt what we have created? Day looked around the chamber. He saw fear in some faces, curiosity in others. He needed to make them understand. Council leader, you ask if humans can live in peace. I ask you this, what does survival mean? For most species here, survival meant finding a comfortable niche and defending it. But for humans, survival meant adapting to any situation. We learned to live in deserts and Arctic tundra. We learned to eat hundreds of different foods. We learned dozens of languages and created thousands of cultures. Adaptation is our strength, he continued, his voice growing stronger. Yes, we evolved under terrible pressure. Yes, we carry scars in our DNA. But those scars taught us something valuable. They taught us that nothing is permanent. That disaster can strike at any moment. That the only way to survive is to be flexible, creative, and cooperative. These are not dangerous traits. These are exactly the traits needed in an unpredictable universe. Jin spoke again, still sounding worried. But what about your psychology? Our scientists studied human behavior. You take risks that seem insane to us. You attempt things with high failure rates. You push boundaries constantly. This seems reckless. It seems reckless to you because your species never needed it, Day replied. If your ancestors lived on stable worlds where caution was rewarded, then yes, human behavior looks crazy. But imagine if your world had volcanoes that could erupt without warning. Imagine if storms could destroy entire regions in hours. Imagine if diseases could spread through your population in weeks. In that environment, caution means death. Action means survival. You must take risks because waiting is not safe either. A new voice joined the discussion. It was Dr. Hana, the human scientist who had studied Quan. She had been given permission to speak. Council members, I have spent 10 years studying alien biology. I have worked with dozens of species. What I learned from examining human genetics has changed my understanding of evolution itself. Humans are not aggressive survivors. They are adaptive survivors. There is a crucial difference. She brought up a holographic display showing comparative data. An aggressive survivor species eliminates threats. They are territorial, violent. Humans could have evolved that way, but they did not. Instead, they developed something else. They developed what I call apocalyptic optimism. It is a psychological trait found in every human I have tested. When facing disaster, humans do not panic or freeze. They actively believe solutions are possible. This is not stupidity. This is a survival mechanism. If you believe extinction is inevitable, you stop trying. But if you believe survival is possible, you keep looking for answers. Mora considered this. So you are saying humans evolved hope as a biological trait? In a way, yes, Hana confirmed. Hope combined with adaptability and creativity. This combination let humans survive when everything said they should die. And this combination makes them valuable to the coalition, not dangerous. Think about it. We have built an incredible civilization, but it is fragile. We have avoided major disasters for 800 years, but disasters will come eventually. When they do, who do you want on your side? Species like mine who are careful and methodical? Or species like humans who have forgotten how to give up? The chamber fell silent again. Representatives looked at each other, having quiet conversations through their communication devices. Day waited, his heart pounding. Everything depended on this moment. Finally, Mora spoke. Ambassador Day, the Council will deliberate on this matter. We will not make a hasty decision about humanity's place in the Coalition. However, I will tell you this. Your words have given us much to consider. We will study human biology and psychology further, but you will not be expelled. Humanity will remain in the Coalition while we learn to understand you better. Day felt relief wash over him. It was not perfect, but it was enough. Thank you, Council Leader. Humans will prove themselves worthy of your trust. As the session ended and representatives began to leave, Day knew the real challenge was just beginning. Humanity had been classified as survivors. Now they would have to show the galaxy what that truly meant. 3 months passed after the council session. Quan had been released from Gateway Station weeks ago and returned to his cargo runs, but everything had changed. He was no longer just another pilot. People recognized him. Aliens stopped him in station corridors to ask questions about humans. Some wanted to understand. Others were just curious. A few still seemed nervous around him. Quan was finishing a delivery run to the outer colonies when the emergency broadcast came through every communication channel in Coalition space. His ship's computer displayed the message in bright red letters. Catastrophic impact event, Nor Prime, evacuation protocols active. Quan immediately switched to the news feeds. What he saw made his blood run cold. A massive asteroid swarm, bigger than anything the Coalition had encountered in centuries, was heading toward Nor Prime. The asteroids had been disturbed by a stellar phenomenon, something to do with a nearby star's magnetic field shifting. Scientists were still trying to understand exactly what happened, but the result was clear. Hundreds of massive rocks were on a collision course with a planet that had 3 billion living beings on its surface down to the estimated time until impact was 48 hours. Quan watched as Coalition officials gave updates. The Nor government was trying to evacuate as many people as possible, but Nor were gaseous beings. They needed special suits and environments to survive off their world. The Coalition had some evacuation ships ready, but not nearly enough. The best projections showed that maybe 10% of the population could be saved. The rest would die when the asteroids hit. The Coalition military was scrambling to respond. They had asteroid defense systems, weapons that could destroy smaller space rocks, but this swarm was too big. Too many targets. The defense grid would be overwhelmed in minutes. Coalition engineers were working on solutions, but they needed time to plan, to run simulations, to get approval from multiple committees. Time they did not have. Quan sat in his pilot seat and watched the disaster unfold in real time. He saw footage of Nor families trying to board evacuation ships. He saw the fear on their faces, visible even through their protective suits. He thought about those 3 billion people, all waiting to die because the universe had thrown rocks at their planet. It made him angry. It made him want to do something. He opened a communication channel to Earth. Within minutes, he was connected to Dr. Hana. Her face appeared on his screen, looking tired and worried. "Quan, are you seeing this?" "Everyone is seeing it," Quan replied. "Hana, is the Coalition going to save them?" Hana shook her head slowly. "They are trying, but their protocols are too slow. Every decision needs approval. Every plan needs review. By the time they agree on something, it will be too late." "Then we need a different approach," Quan said. "What do you mean?" Quan pulled up star charts showing his position relative to Nor Prime. "I am 16 hours away from the Nor system. I know other human ships are closer. We could reach them before the Coalition fleet even finishes their planning meetings." "And do what?" Hana asked. "Quan, those asteroids are enormous. Even our military ships cannot destroy all of them." "No, but we can redirect them," Quan said. An idea was forming in his mind, something crazy that might actually work. Human military ships carry nuclear weapons. We never use them, but we have them. What if we use controlled detonations to break up the swarm and push the fragments off course? Hana stared at him. "That is insane. The timing would have to be perfect. One mistake and you make things worse. The radiation alone could contaminate the planet." "So we do not make mistakes," Quan said simply. "Hana, I need you to run the numbers. Calculate where we need to place charges to get maximum effect. I am going to contact every human pilot within range of Nor Prime. We can do this. Quan, this is not your decision to make. Ambassador Day would need to authorize military action. The Coalition would need to approve. There are protocols. There is no time for protocols, Quan said firmly. 3 billion people are going to die if someone does not act now. Yes, this is risky. Yes, it might fail. But doing nothing definitely fails. That is not acceptable. Hana was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. I will run the calculations. But Quan, if you do this without authorization, you could end humanity's membership in the coalition. They could see it as an act of aggression. Or they could see it as humans being humans, Quan replied. You told the council we evolved to survive disasters. Now we get to prove it. Send me those calculations as soon as you have them. I am making calls. Over the next 2 hours, Quan contacted every human pilot and engineer he knew. The message spread through human networks like fire. Within 4 hours, 12 human military vessels had changed course toward Nor Prime. Their captains did not wait for orders. They did not ask permission. They just acted. Ambassador Day found out about the plan when it was already in motion. He was in his office on Earth when a coalition official called, demanding to know why human ships were converging on Nor Prime without authorization. Day asked for details, listened carefully, and then made a choice that would define his career. The human fleet is acting under my authority, Day told the coalition official. We are attempting a rescue operation. You did not request approval from the council, the official said, sounding shocked. Because approval would take 12 hours we do not have, Day replied. The council can punish me later if our attempt fails. But if it succeeds, 3 billion Nor will be alive to see tomorrow. That seems worth the risk. The coalition watched as the human fleet approached the asteroid swarm. News networks broadcast live feeds. Billions of beings across the galaxy tuned in to watch. Some hoped the humans would succeed. Others expected disaster. All of them understood that what happened in the next 24 hours would change how the galaxy saw humanity forever. Quan's ship was the first to reach the swarm. He looked at the asteroids on his scanner and felt his stomach tighten. They were huge, tumbling through space in a chaotic cloud. Any one of them could destroy a city. Together, they would crack a planet's surface open. Dr. Hana's calculations appeared on his screen. She had mapped out exactly where each ship needed to place their nuclear charges. The detonations would have to happen in perfect sequence, one after another, creating a cascade effect that would fragment the asteroids and push them away from Nor Prime. The margin for error was almost zero. Quan opened a channel to the other human pilots. He recognized some of the voices. There was Minho, a military pilot he had met at a station bar once. Yuna, an engineer who specialized in high-risk operations. Junyo, a cargo pilot like himself who had family on the outer colonies. They were all here ready to risk everything for people they had never met. Everyone got Hana's calculations? Quan asked. Got them, Minho confirmed. This is crazy, you know that, right? Completely crazy, Quan agreed. But we are humans. Crazy is what we do. Let us show the galaxy how survivors operate. All ships move into position. We have one shot at this. The human fleet split up, each ship heading toward its assigned position in the asteroid field. The real work was about to begin.